We try to once a quarter kind of check in on the trade issues and what's happening with our exports coming out of, well, United States, but we look at the commodities that are important to Nebraska, because if you look at Nebraska overall, the value of exports is about 30% of the total ag receipts. So it's a pretty big deal for us. So yeah, we looked at them, and I honestly I was a little shocked, a little surprised with what we found, at least for corn and soybeans. And this, we just looked at the first quarter of this year, and corn exports this year were up 141% compared to first quarter last year, and then soybean exports were up 116%. And then overall, total ag exports were up about 31%. And I mean, we kept seeing news reports and things knowing that the exports were going well, but when you started looking at some specific commodities, it really kind of surprised me. And so I think a lot of that right now is being driven by China. China's been big in this market. It's been buying a lot of corn. It's been buying a lot of soybeans to feed their hog herd. But there's some other Asian countries and Middle East countries that have been stepped up their buying efforts too. And that's kind of partly reflective of the market conditions right now. U.S. is pretty competitive price-wise. The dollar had been down in value, which makes our commodities look more competitive in terms of prices. Plus, we've seen some production supply issues in some of our competing countries, particularly South America. And so that's all helped boost our exports, particularly on the meat side of things, the protein side of things. Beef exports are up this year by 3% over last year at this time period. And of course, Nebraska being a big beef producing state, that's really good news. And a lot of that is due to the post-COVID economic surge that we've seen. China's GDP is expected to grow 8% this year. Japan, South Korea, some of our other leading protein importing countries or purchasers of our pork and beef have really been growing and post-COVID. And so we're seeing that demand, that pin-up demand, like we've seen here in the United States on things. That's happening elsewhere in the world too. So that's been really good for our protein exports. The USDA, at least they kind of measure things by fiscal year, the government's fiscal year, which ends September 30th. They project total ag exports from the United States to be, I think, 164 billion. And so we're seeing some levels that we haven't seen before, and then our trade surplus, the United States has always run a trade surplus in ag products. This last year in 2020, because of COVID and some of the trade disputes and some of the things we had going, our trade surplus was only $2.5 billion. Now, this year, I think they're calling for it to be 22 to 25 billion, so almost 10 times greater. So that kind of just gives you a little bit of the magnitude of what we're experiencing and seeing right now.